So Bitcoin's getting another move to the upside within this range. We are again trying to get above the value area high. I spoke about in my last video how this is very important resistance, and in my opinion is really the last key resistance before all-time high. You could say maybe we wick this high, possibly we can SFP that, front run all-time high again. That is a possibility, but I don't think this is like that significant considering all-time high is, right above it. It's very close to it. So I'm really looking at value area high as, the most important resistance that we're running into right now, along with the high of the local range. I think that's also going to be a very important level. And the value area did change on Bybit. So it was looking different previously. The point of control was up here, and it looked different from Binance's, but now the Bybit poll actually looks virtually identical to them. The point of control moved down to about 67.7. That is right where the Binance one is. So the value areas are looking pretty much identical across the different exchanges. So, I feel like I can trust the value areas more. But even before, I was still looking at this area as being resistance because the point of control and the value area high was up here. But I do like the fact that they look the same. It makes it easy. And what has happened since we ran into the value area high the first time? Well, we have actually come down to essentially test the point of control as support. We, have wicked it out. We held it as support even if we fell below it a little bit. We couldn't really close below it, and even if we did, it was slightly, and we still managed to move higher afterwards. So we hold point of control as support, then price gets moved to the value area high. This is going to be another important decision point. Are we just going to, wick it out and rotate back to the downside again, get a move back to point of control? Or are we going to, be able to break above it, break out of this yellow range? I've been saying that I personally think it's pretty likely that we take out all-time high at some point. We've already front ran all-time high multiple times. It looks like, we are potentially setting up for some bearish divergences on, really the most significant time frames, the weekly time frame, the daily time frame. So I think it makes sense to at least touch all-time high. Doesn't mean it has to be right now. We could just do something like this, come back within the range, continue ranging before we eventually do try and touch all-time high, and maybe we do end up front running it yet again. So I want to talk about that possibility as well. And we do technically have the potential to form some local bear divs if we just take out this local range high, the yellow range. We are already, basically right at the range high. We haven't hit it yet, but we're very close. And right now you can see momentum is lower. There is a chance that we end up printing a bearish div on the daily time frame if we, just wick out that high. And even though it's not looking like a super significant one, we could also have a money flow div here too. These are very, small, insignificant waves, but it is on the daily time frame, and there is a small chance that we get a bearish div here. Right now, money flow has to get above this white line essentially to avoid that. It's very close, but I think if we get a very quick wick up above this yellow range high and then immediately start reversing, we might not see money flow move up anymore. So it may diverge, momentum may diverge, and maybe that is what ends up causing us to front run all-time high yet again. So still considering the possibility of maybe just getting like a local bearish div here on the daily time frame, let's go down to some of the midterm time frames and see how likely that is. Let's see if there's any div potential on the medium term time frames, which could give confluence to that idea. So on the 4 hour, from where this range started, we can see that momentum has already put in a higher high right here. So if we take out the high, there wouldn't be any regional momentum divs. There is still potential for money flow divs though. So money flow could put in a lower high. Right now, money flow is locally getting a move to the upside. It's not showing any signs of really flopping over yet, so it's hard to tell if it's going to top out here. There is definitely local div potential on the 4 hour. Right now, momentum has gotten a move to the downside. Price really hasn't moved at all. So if it gets a move to the upside soon, there's a good chance that we end up getting local momentum divs here, which could give more confluence to the idea of getting this money flow div. I think, that would make it more likely. If we saw the momentum div, I'd think, all right, there's a good chance money flow starts to top out somewhere around here. On the 3 hour, it's a very similar story. Money flow is actually closer to voiding any possible divs. It doesn't really have to get that much of a move to the upside to void that. It's pretty close. And money flow is still putting in higher highs locally. It just put in another higher high right here. But we definitely still have that local div potential on the 3 hour. and even a possibility for a slight regional div from when the range high was put in. So we could diverge from that wave too. We still haven't taken that out. We put in a slight lower high here, and if we end up getting a local divergence here with momentum, and we also take out the range high, then we could have not only the local divs but regional ones as well. Even taking it to this wave or this wave, it would still diverge. But money flow is closer to avoiding any possible divs, so got to keep that in mind. We definitely see momentum div potential on the 2-hour, both regional, as we still haven't taken out this wave. We've only put in lower highs. And definitely locally, we're seeing momentum take a serious turn to the downside as price is basically consolidating here, which is making a divergence if we just wick out that high very possible. And we're still seeing money flow put in higher highs locally. There is div potential. Going back to pretty much when this range started, we may see money flow put in a lower high compared to here, but it is seemingly growing pretty aggressively here. I kind of like how this money flow looks on the 2-hour, but the momentum is kind of throwing me off. I don't like how the momentum looks at all. And looking at the 1-hour, momentum pretty much doing the same thing as the other time frames. Money flow is still technically putting in higher highs locally. We're still putting in higher highs. It's still growing. We could have just put in another higher low, and maybe now it tries to put in a higher high. But we still have div potential, and I think this is when the range started right here. Definitely momentum div potential. So I would say the medium-term time frames definitely look like a SFP of this yellow range high is possible. But again, if we end up just getting a move above this and we don't immediately reclaim it, there's a good chance that momentum, money flow continue to move to the upside along with price, and maybe then we actually do get a move to all-time high. But at that point, we would really need to see a lot from price action in order to void these higher time frame divergences on the daily and on the weekly. I think we would have to significantly break above all-time high to really void those. One more thing I want to talk about quick before I end this. I want to pull up some anchored VWAPs. Because really, in terms of anchored VWAPs, and in terms of viewing them as bearish strength from significant highs, and you can also view it as bullish strength from significant lows, but specifically looking at bearish strength, there's really none above us in terms of resistance. So we already broke above the anchored VWAP from all-time high. We got above it here. It was kind of a false break because we ended up going lower later. Now we've got above it again, and if you take an anchored VWAP from the highest point from where we broke it, we've also gotten above that one. And something important to notice is that these anchored VWAPs are now trending to the upside. And I am definitely far from the most experienced with anchored VWAPs, but I do know that you can look at the direction that they are moving as kind of extra confluence that the way the anchored VWAPs are moving are the way that price is more likely to go. If they're pointing to the downside, there's a good chance price continues to move to the downside. But if those bearish anchored VWAPs start to then turn to the upside and kind of sustain that, like we had a little move to the upside here that didn't really work out all that well. We did get above it, but ultimately it failed later. But it's just a little extra confluence. You can say that now the anchored VWAPs are starting to point to the upside. And I also want to look at this local one from this range high. We have broken the bearish strength of this local range as well. We also retested it for support before moving higher, and now this local one is also starting to point to the upside. So I would say overall, I think things are pointing to the upside for the most part. We're seeing money flow trending to the upside on these midterm time frames. I think there's a lot of reason to continue moving to the upside, at least to take out this yellow range high. But, we have to consider that we are in the top section of a macro range right now. So this isn't really, a place where I would be considering long positions unless it's within a local context. And, that's pretty much what I've been looking for. I was also looking for some shorts, but I kind of got cooked yesterday taking a couple shorts. It was a pretty terrible trading day, not going to lie. But I am in one long right now. I think I may get stopped out here soon, though, because it is a very local one. But yeah, I'm just looking to scalp the ranges. And, I'm just paying attention to the higher time frame stuff because that gives me an overall bias and it gives me something to talk about in my videos. So, With that being said, I think I'm out of things to talk about. So thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. I appreciate the support, and I will see you all in the next video.